6. Thinking about thinking, the elements of reasoning. Let's review the definition of critical thinking. Critical thinking is thinking about your thinking to make it better and adopting traits that make it possible. Recall, too, that this definition consists of 3 constituent parts. This definition of critical thinking includes the concept of thinking itself. It implies a deeper understanding of what thinking itself consists of, its constituent elements. When you were a child and you did something foolish, did one or both of your exasperated parents ever ask you, "Why didn't you think?" What do you suppose your parents would have done if you asked them, "But how do you think?" Probably wouldn't be a good idea to ask an angry parent such a question unless you relish standing in the corner or being sent to your room without supper. But asking how we think, how we reason, how we try to figure things out is a very good question indeed. Because, according to Dr. Richard Paul, there are universal elements to reasoning, to thinking, to figuring things out. This is because, quote, whenever we think for some purpose, within a point of view, based upon assumptions, all of which have implications. We use data, facts, or experiences to make inferences and judgments based on concepts or theories to answer a question or solve a problem, unquote. From Critical Thinking by Dr. Richard Paul and Dr. Linda Elder. These universal elements are present whenever we reason, whenever we try to figure something out. For now, I'm going to ask you simply to assume that this is true. But in the following presentations, we will challenge that assumption. After doing so, I think you will be convinced of the truth of this. But let's just identify what those basic, fundamental, and universal elements of reasoning are for the moment. Dr. Richard Paul defines 8 of them. 1. Purpose. 2. Point of view. 3. Question. 4. Concept. 5. Information. 6. Inference. 7. Implication. And 8. Assumption. Now that's a lot of information. But if you want to think critically, you must absolutely be intimately familiar with each concept. The elements of reasoning is an important leg of the conceptual bar stool of what it means to be a critical thinker. But like I did with the test for knowledge, CI, which stands for clearly state, expound upon, exemplify, or illustrate, I have a memory trick that enables me to be able to easily recall the elements of reasoning themselves. My memory trick for the elements of reasoning goes like this. Mind your P's and Q's to avoid the CIA. Silly, I know, but it works. Mind your P's. The P's stand for purpose and point of view, the first 2 elements of reasoning. So mind your P's and Q's. The Q stands for question. To avoid the C stands for concept. I stands for 3 of the elements, information, inference, and implication. And A, assumption. Mind your P's and Q's to avoid the CIA. Purpose, point of view, question, concept, information, inference, implication, and assumption. To think about your thinking, which is another way of saying to analyze, to break things apart, you must know what the constituent elements of reasoning are. This trick, mind your P's and Q's to avoid the CIA, will help you to recall those elements easily so that you can reflect upon each one. Now, in the following presentations, we will examine them one by one to fully understand them. In my next presentation, the 7th out of 34, I'll expound upon the element of purpose and challenge whether or not it is indeed necessary when it comes to reasoning.